Well, hey, everybody, welcome to Our Watch. There is a crisis of human trafficking on our border. Somebody who knows that all too well, somebody who's been shot 3 times and is now running for Congress, is going to be on the program today to talk to us about the reality of what's happening. I think you already know that we've got a great crisis on our hands, but we want to get some firsthand, real intel into this very, very desperate situation. We're going to bring him on in just a moment. Before we do that, I just want to remind you, share this video, if you would, with your friends, your family, your neighbors. Get over to ourwatch.com, subscribe to become one of our watchmen. So important to get the truth of what's happening in our world and be able to be armed with the truth to get out to be effective citizens and do the will of God. So we want to thank you for doing that. Again, go over to ourwatch.com and become one of our watchmen. Hey, to talk about this today, we've got Victor Avila on. He's going to be talking about this crisis. Would you please welcome him on, Victor Avila? Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Pastor Tim.
Yes, I'm looking forward to our talk. Sadly, this is a talk that has to happen. There is a crisis at our border. There's just atrocities being committed towards women and children, and it's something that we can't ignore. We have to know what's going on, and you know all too well the reality of this. And in fact, as I opened up our program today, talked about the fact that you were shot by the cartel. Can you tell us about your experience?
Absolutely. I'm a retired special agent with Homeland Security Investigations under ICE. And I worked in Mexico, and I worked as a U.S. diplomat and abroad in Europe. But when tragically in my assignment in Mexico at the U.S. Embassy there, Special Agent Jaime Zapata and I were ambushed by Los Zetas cartel back on February 15, 2011. Agent Zapata was tragically shot and killed next to me. And I survived by the grace of God, being shot 3 times, once in my chest and twice in my left leg. And so I have seen firsthand the evil that we face at the hands of the cartel. But I've worked the border all my life at different levels of government. And when it comes to illegal immigration, human smuggling, human trafficking, weapons trafficking, and everything else that we face, the national security and public safety aspect that I focus a lot on is out of control at this point. I had never in my life or career ever seen what is occurring as you and I speak right now at our southern border, and also our northern border, by the way, that gets ignored a lot. But our southern border has been invaded. There is no a doubt about that. We are at a different times, and it all has to do with politics, unfortunately. We're literally being killed by fentanyl through the hands of China and the cartels. Governments like Venezuela are releasing their convicted felons from their prisons, and they're coming from all over the world, Africa, Asia, Europe, you name it. People coming from all over the world illegally, not legally, illegally through this administration, because they have opened the door for them, ignoring our legislatively passed laws, our immigration laws, and just completely have failed this United States. Not just the state of Texas, where I'm running for Congress, but the entire country is now, every state has become a border state. And you've seen the crisis in Chicago, in Florida, obviously in New York. And we have to continue to bring this awareness and put the pressure on this administration to do something about it. But they don't want to. They are deliberately doing this. This is orchestrated. It's something that they created. And now they want to say that they're trying to fix a broken system. Well, they're the ones that broke it. And it's very frustrating, a person like me that have worked the front lines to see this happening to our country.
You know, you talk about a person like you. You've worked the front lines. Clearly, you're a man that has your finger on the pulse of the rest of the people working in that line of work, protecting the border. There's got to be a frustration on their part that their hands are tied. They're not allowed to do their job. They're not allowed to keep us safe and secure. What's your thought on how people are feeling? What's the climate within our border security?
Our border agents are demoralized, to say the least. We have had 14 suicides just this year alone of our Border Patrol agents. As over half a dozen of the National Guardsmen, one committed suicide over the Thanksgiving weekend. People don't talk about this. Why? Because they have been purposely taken away from the scope of their duties, what they were trained to do and that's to patrol the border. It's even in their title, in their name. But this administration has told them, you cannot do that, but we're going to have you do this instead. And what that is allow people from all over the world enter this country illegally, which is breaking the law. And it's very demoralizing for anyone. I tell people, whatever you do for a living, imagine if your employer told you you couldn't do that anymore, but whatever they instructed you to do was against the law and you were forced to do it because you have to feed your family. You need that health insurance. You need these pensions. It's not like the border agents could just say, I quit and not do this job. And so it has really taken a toll on them, especially if they're suffering from something else at home. Their work environment is not helping. And I go to the border. I just got back from Eagle Pass and Del Rio, Texas. People are shocked when they go there. If I'm surprised by how this administration has allowed this to happen, you should see how people go down there. And I don't go down there for photo ops. So I go down there to show people the realities and the process of what's happening right now, because it's incredible. It's almost hard to believe that you could literally come up to this, our borders, and you would be allowed in without absolutely no vetting. And so that's a public safety issue alone. Of course, we could talk about the national security and terrorism. It is putting us in a situation in this country that people that have already become victims in the United States at the hands of illegal aliens and other victims of crime could tell you firsthand that they've lost a child to a fentanyl overdose or poisoning. They have lost their child or loved one to a violent event at the hands of a illegal alien. It continues to happen because we already have a crime surge in this country to begin with. We suffer from public safety around most of the country. And so the police departments that I talk to around the country, in Alabama, in South Dakota, in Florida, they tell me we don't have extra resources. We still have the same number of police officers. We don't have more budget, but we're now having them forced to absorb these people into the community that, by the way, don't want to be Americans. This is the big difference that I've seen in my career. They don't want to assimilate to the United States. I'm the perfect example of the American dream. My parents came to this country legally, and they assimilated to this country. And what does that mean? That means they weren't a public charge to the government. They worked hard, they didn't commit crimes, and they prospered by working very hard every day to put my sisters and I through school, and the first ones to graduate from college. That's the American dream. I'm an example of it. But what I see now is people coming here entitled. They're not seeking asylum. A lot of people call them asylum seekers. That's not what they are. I never heard the word asylum every time I go to the border. They want to come here and bring the values and policy and ideology from their country and implement it here. And the Venezuelans is a great example of that.
Yeah, and we look at what's happening all across the nation right now. People have reason to be concerned. I mean, you got the director of the FBI saying that now the ability for people coming from other countries to perform acts of terror here is increasing, and there's an actual real concern about that. So Americans should be concerned that that's the reality, that we could have some sort of terror attack here on our own soil. But not just that, but there's also the young ladies, the children being sexually assaulted on their way here. Can you talk to us more about the reality of that?
Absolutely. I'm a subject matter expert in human trafficking investigations and victim identification, and I rescued countless women and children from mostly the sex slave trade in our country. There's also a lot of forced labor now happening, and this open border policy by this administration has only facilitated that for the cartels to exploit these young women and children, the child trafficking and the sex slave trade. And it is happening. Let me tell you, I wrote a book, Agent Under Fire, that talk about the shooting. And I put an example there of human trafficking because I still, believe it or not, people tell me, does child trafficking really exist? Is that something real? And I tell them, I wish it wasn't real. But there's things that I will never be able to talk about that I've seen in my career that are horrendous. I'm talking about things that human beings are capable to do to a child, and it's evil. There's no other way to say it, and it exists right now. And so these cartels and other organizations are taking advantage of this, and they are exploiting these children. Under this administration, 385,000 unaccompanied children have been allowed into this country. Unaccompanied, that means they're by themselves. And almost 1,000 children have been lost by Health and Human Services, that means they have no idea where these children went. They have no idea who the sponsor was, if in fact the sponsor was a next of kin or family member. So we have people asking for children around this country, but not knowing what the heck is going on. I have personally flown with these children in airplanes, commercial airplanes, once with a 3-year-old, once with a 4-year-old, that I thought that's the age they were. And they were with the rest of the country.
You're running for Congress in District 23 there in Texas. That goes San Antonio all the way down to El Paso. And I want to give you an opportunity to share with my audience what you intend to do when you get elected. What are you going to do that's going to bring about change? Because a lot of people talk a big talk, but when it comes down to actually affecting change, it seems as though nothing's happening. And so what is it that you're going to do when you get elected and you get sworn in? What are some of the first steps you're going to take towards fixing this problem for us?
A great question, because I will implement all my experience. There's no one in Congress with my experience, especially in the House Homeland Security Committee, that has actually done the job and been there and done that. But one of the first things that I'm going to do is address Mexico. And this is a big issue. The people are coming through that country, and Mexico always throws their sovereignty in our face. Well, we need to hold Mexico accountable. They have very strong laws, immigration laws. I know because I work there, and they need to be held accountable. And I'm talking about sanctions. I'm talking about tariffs. Some policies were implemented by the prior administration, but we need to go above and beyond and further to hold these countries accountable, starting with Mexico and other countries as well. That's one of the big issues that I want to deal with as soon as I get into Congress. But I want to remind people that the reason why I'm running this primary is because the incumbent has had the opportunity to actually pass these, and in this case, the biggest border security bill this past summer, and he killed it. And I'm talking about Tony Gonzalez. He killed the biggest border security bill that would have been presented to Congress, a Republican in name only. And so this is the challenge that we have, that people have lied, have been betrayed in my district, and they want somebody that's going to bring integrity, that's going to bring truth. And that's what I'll bring. I will tell you exactly what's going on. I have been reporting this for a long time and talking about it. And I will let the people know, because I know my role here as an employee of the people, and I will give the power back to them. I don't want it. They get to tell me what they want. And the number one thing they want right now is public safety, border security, and of course the economy is a close second. And we're going to change it now. And 2024 is going to change. And I tell people all the time, do you want somebody like me there that's going to facilitate these changes and secure the border? Or do you want to keep this incumbent there that we know, because of his voting record, that is not going to join the other Republicans in defending us?
Well, we certainly wish you all the best in running there in District 23 in Texas. How can people connect with you? How can they follow you? How can they support you in this?
Please follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, at Victor Avila and at Victor Avila TX. You'll find me there. I put a lot of videos to keep people on top of my campaign. But please visit my campaign website at victoravilaforcongress.com, FOR. victoravilaforcongress.com. I do need your contributions, your donations to get us to the primary. It's right around the corner, March 5th. And we have a great opportunity here to bring some incredible change and really make this district a lot safer when it is. They will get the attention that they deserve, especially in the smaller counties away from the San Antonios, where these ranchers have really feel that they have been abandoned. I will bring the attention to Washington, D.C. for them.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Victor Avila, running for Congress in District 23 there in Texas. Like I said, San Antonio all the way down to El Paso. Thank him for joining us today. And I want to remind you all, share this video if you would with your friends, your family, your neighbors. We have so much going on. We need to hear from people like Victor Avila to know the truth about what's happening, so that way we can be informed voters, activated as citizens, doing many great things for the Lord. So thank you for joining us. If you would, go over to ourwatch.com, subscribe, become one of our watchmen. We'd love to have you, and we'll see you next time right here on Our Watch with Tim Thompson.